Hey, everybody. This is Rob Lowe, host of the Giving Back podcast. Wanted to say hi. This is the second Facebook Live I've ever done. It's pretty cool, and I'm gonna try to make this like a regular part. Maybe even, the goal would be every week when I do the Giving Back Insights show to do it live and use Facebook Live for that to get out there a little bit more. And not just for, hey, here I am in person and let me get used to this, being out there in person as opposed to just my voice. It's also to take it's also to practice a little bit, right? Because I imagine any and all of you being out there, coming in, joining me, having a conversation, and thinking about serving. And part of being fully present and focusing on serving is thinking about my audience. How can I best communicate what I have in mind and share that with you? And this sounds a little bit funny, I know. I'm still struggling a little bit sometimes with some of these words, using them, but resonate. How can I connect with you? I had anyway, so that's it. So, that's not it for the show. I'm actually doing this live, and I'm recording the show, which is cool. Oh, I see. And there's like little things that I've learned here along the ways. Like, for example, you can invite friends, and I didn't know that. That's very cool. The last time I did this, it was just, hey, here I am, and some people came on, which was really cool to see that. That was on a Sunday, so maybe people had some time and they were hanging out. Right now, it is noon Pacific Standard Time. Right now, high noon, and that means it's 3 o'clock Eastern, and I think either 7 or 8 o'clock in Europe. It's 9 o'clock, just started the day in Hawaii, and so it's a Tuesday, and it's the day after a holiday, so everybody's getting back to normal. I've got these goofy headphones on. It's reverse for me, so I'm getting used to all this, and I'm sharing a little bit of that because honestly, this is learning. It's learning for me, and I throw things out there and see what sticks, and then think about it and move on it and see what feels better and what feels right and what feels like it'll serve me, or at least I have an understanding of how it could serve me. So I'm doing this out there, being completely imperfect, and coming to you as authentic as possible, as I guess in some ways as this is pretty vulnerable, and I guess that's part of the reason why it feels a little bit uncomfortable, because I'm seeing, even as I'm looking, like I'm trying to look right into the camera there, and I notice what I see is different. And then when I look here, it looks like I'm looking down, which I am. So part of my resolutions was being fully present for all conversations and all communication. And so I've asked people to do face-to-face with me because I find that it helps me focus, and I'm more present. I do some recordings now as well because it helps me be present and stop taking notes. And this is just kind of getting used to that and seeing how it feels. I'm getting a little bit more used to looking right at the dot, or at the light, so to speak. Go to the light, which is the camera. Making sure I'm setting this all up, so when you have feedback, just let me know how it goes, okay? So that's a little bit of backstage. For the show, where we're going. I'm gonna start this in just a minute or two. The actual recording, it's really cool. I had a chance to, I had the opportunity. I had so many things going on in one day, a day of service, right? Thinking about the life and the lessons and the impact of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's just so much to think about, and so much this year in particular to feel grateful for, and to serve. My whole life is turned upside down. I had a great opportunity to meet with not just one person who's very well versed in building businesses and community. It's really more about building community. That's what he does. And meet people who are interested in doing that same thing, but getting ready for it and preparing for that and answering his questions, which had to do with who are the people who would be best to meet. What's the one question that each of us has for him? What else is there? What are our goals, right? What's part of our epic journey and where we're at now? Really, really important things like that. And it helps me focus back on what I know to be probably the most important aspect of my goal setting and being accountable, which is keeping that mindset. So, hey, Mike, I see you just joined. Thanks for coming on. This is new for me. I saw you a little bit earlier, which was great. And I'm just getting this together for my live show. This is actually a little bit of backstage prep. I've changed a little bit. I've decided to take another step in and do Facebook Live and a live recording of the Thursday show of Giving Back Insights. So Mike was on the show. He was a guest on the show, and he has this wonderful model about giving back and about helping others build the way that they give. And it's almost like generational giving. Oftentimes financial advisors and consultants and brokers, they talk about how to build your generational wealth. And what I loved about Mike is that he's building generational giving, generational sharing of, in this case, resources, which would be treasure, but in some cases can be other things like the example of giving and having that in your heart. So Mike is doing freaking awesome stuff. And Mike, thank you for joining, because one of the things that I had in my mind is that if people joined who are guests on the show or who have been guests on the show, it's kind of a test for me whether or not I can remember who they are and what they do, and being able to call them in, so to speak. I mean, you've already called yourself in for giving, but also being able to remember that and say, hey, hello, and really thank them for doing what they're doing. And Mike, thank you so much, because what you are making happen is actually really kind of new. It's we had you and another gentleman who are in that industry, and you're really making this awesome distinction between yourself and others, and it's about something totally different. It's actually, in some ways, it's very Rockefeller-ish, Rockefeller-esque when it comes to, hey, I've done this and now I want to give back. And we have other examples, whether it's Carnegie or Gates and, whoever it is. But, that it doesn't have to be an immense amount of wealth, and that you start and that you use these tools, and you are, creating this niche for yourself, and it's absolutely awesome. So I salute you. Thank you. So second show, and this will be a great time to try different things. I'm not recording right now. This is the truly backstage, not recorded part. But I was talking about inviting friends and seeing people. And I know last time we had Stephanie Jones came on, and she joined us. She's doing awesome things with generosity, and thinking about being mindful about every day doing these small acts, and some of which are oftentimes not considered giving back or charity, and they don't have to be. And I think that's the point. It's the mindset. and what you're doing in that purposefulness and intentionality. And also a lot of courage for her, because she went on a limb and decided that she was going to make a book out of that. And she knew full well that there was going to be some criticism. And she told me about her, it's either a parson or a pastor. I think it was one of the two P's. Well, actually, I guess there's three P's if you think about priest. But I think it was a parson or a pastor who said to her, hey, is this the right thing to do? Is this sharing what's in your heart and what you've done? What's the purpose of this? And she went for it, and she did get criticism, and she more than weathered. I mean, she's a terrific lady. She's got great insight, and she is giving back in tremendous ways. She came back from a cruise from Alaska, and she was so excited, and I don't blame her. And then we had Pastor Steve Stone from Heart Song Church. He joined us for a little bit, and I guess this is kind of a chance for me to remember and think about a little bit. Heart Song Church and the Memphis Islamic Center, I just mentioned them this morning. I was on a call with the folks from Charity Charge, which is the only credit card that donates a portion of every purchase to the charity of your choice. And it's really awesome. And I love these guys. We've got people, new grads, almost new grads from University of Texas. And we've got some really well-respected advisors who are older even than me. However, that damn Silver Fox is like, I mean, you listen to him and it's almost like listening to Morgan Freeman, right? He talks and he's got that English accent. Anyway, so I digress. The thing about it is that we were talking about it. About their story, about being neighbors, and how Steve said something really, really remarkable. At least for me, it was remarkable, as I'm not a big church-going person. And he said, Jesus gave us two commandments. The first one is to love God with all your heart. And the second one is to love your neighbor the same. And I was talking to my editor, Callum, because he had included that in the book, in one of the snippets. And I was laughing, and I said, isn't that funny? I said, now that I look at it, I realize that Steve is saying the same thing twice. And Callum didn't understand. He said, I'm not getting it. What are you talking about? Did I make a mistake? I said, no. I said, but I've met Steve, and we talked about a lot of things, including what would Jesus do, right? WWJD. And it's in essence this idea that when you love others and you are helping them, you are loving God. It is a way of serving God, right? So when you are serving others, you're serving God. All right. So enough of that. I'm going to start the show, and we'll be talking about MLK Jr., Dr. King Jr. in just a second. And ready, steady, and here we go. All right, so today's show is about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a hero to many, including myself, honoring his life, the lessons that he I was going to say taught, but it's not really. He teaches. It's still very, very, very much alive, and the impact he had, his legacy, and it's answering his question. He said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And wow, that's a big, big question, right? I mean, it's a big statement, big, bold statement, big, bold question. So what are you doing? What are we all doing, right? I mean, it's something that reaches into my heart, because with the Giving Back podcast, we have these amazing people doing incredible, incredible acts of kindness, ongoing. It's just absolutely amazing. And so when I think of service, I think of all of these guests. Not that it gives me a pass, right? It's not like I'm great just because I get to hang around them. I aspire because of who I hang around with, and that's this greatness that surrounds me because of the show and who I get to associate with. Actually, really, truly associate with. Sometimes work with, sometimes meet, share a meal, and just sometimes swapping ideas. But it comes to mind, what is service, and how can we be of service, and most importantly, how can I be of service to others? And that was something that came up quite a bit with my accountability coach, Kate Shell. I mentioned her, I think it was a couple weeks ago. Somebody who is helping me to stay focused. Everything, I'm one of those people that believes that all the answers are in us. And if that's the case, then you are your own best coach. Sometimes I think it's the human nature in us, or at least in me. I'm the ADD guy, squirrel, somewhere else is interesting, and getting distracted, or even if those things that are distracting are good ideas with good intentions, being able to stay focused on the key component. And one of those things for me is the mindset of service, right? How do I, if my intentions are to celebrate my life of abundance by joyfully serving others, to align my behaviors and communication to reflect my intentions, and to move forward, open to the outcomes, to love unconditionally so that I and others can draw from its strength, and to always err on the side of loving kindness. One of the things that came out of the Vision Quest that I went to with Barbara Whitman and Don Morse, they were our guides. They're incredible. And my fellow questers, Valerie and James and Big Bear, Terry Duperon, this idea of being a storyteller, right? If I were to write my own job description, I would say storyteller. The guests that we've had on the show are remarkable. I mean, really, really remarkable people. They are some of the hardest working, smartest, and not just kind, but also some of the most ambitious people I've ever met. And mind you, having worked in technology and worked in finance, I've met some pretty well-known people who are really driven and have achieved a lot. So when I think about a life of significance, and I think about what is that, going from success to significance, can we turn that around a little bit and think about redefining success, and think about, in the end, that tombstone work? What is it that we want to be known for? And how do we change that from a past tense, he did this, to a present tense, I do this, as in I am doing it now? So part of what I think about is, how can I help these incredible leaders I've met, leaders I've heard about, and leaders I haven't even heard of yet. But as I meet them, how can I help connect them to the people and the organizations and the resources that will help them grow their mission of service? So I think about that all the time. And I read this great book. I actually haven't even finished it yet, but it was a book that Kate, my accountability coach, had recommended to co-working group 2 to all of us. Or maybe she probably, right? I mean, now that I'm really thinking about it, she probably recommended it to everybody because it was really good. And it's called Story Branding. It's by Don Miller. And he said something really, really smart to me, it was dead on, and it was about service. And he's not talking about social welfare and charity, but nonetheless, I think it really counts. And he said, growth for you will really happen when you stop worrying about, when you stop losing sleep about your company, and you start losing sleep about your customer's company. And I thought, man, that's such an amazing way to think about this idea of service. And it can be for a company, in which case he's mostly talking about businesses, but I think about growth, right? Personal growth, spiritual growth, emotional growth, and financial and social growth. And you stop thinking about yourself and focus on service. So for me, this day of service that passed, and I hope everybody had an incredible day, and doing things that are close to the heart. And those things can be anything from picking up poop and cleaning up beaches to being on the soup kitchen line, or it doesn't have to be that either. But having that mindset, because that's for me is the biggest thing, because it's in what we have in our minds and our hearts, and then taking that to where it's out loud, making, I guess in a sense, public declarations, even if it's just to one person. And then what's next? Putting that on paper, putting those thoughts into words, and those words onto paper. And then from paper becomes action. And then when you have that action, you have people who are joining that because they want to get involved in something that's about something to serve others and to help others. So without giving a huge pass for myself, right? I spent a lot of time yesterday thinking about that, having some pretty incredible conversations and gathering things to be able to share and to be that storyteller. And one of the things that I realize is when I take the stage, how do I take these stories that are very public, right, on the show, and bring down all of it into packets, into these snippets that will capture people's heart and capture their interest and help them to go from feeling good to doing good, right? Or actually I should say, go from feeling good and thinking about good to doing good themselves, right? To go from inspiration to aspiration to action. I think that would be a good way to put it. So in the in the course of all this, I thought about so many people who are doing awesome things, and I thought about how I can serve them better and about what things I can do for them. And I realized that I have at my disposal, I have 3 incredible resources, and I didn't even see that. To be honest with you, I didn't even see that until this morning. 3 incredible resources that I can share with each of them, that literally every nonprofit can use, and not only every nonprofit, every business that has a shared value of giving back and community service can use. And then not only for leaders of nonprofits and leaders of businesses, but it can be faith-based organizations, churches, synagogues, mosques. It can be educational organizations, and it can be the people who are in them, inhabit them, support that mission of charity and giving back and making a difference for others. So I come to you after this day of service more resolute than ever, and I come to you with greater clarity and more tools to share. And that is a big part of doing something, for me at least, doing something specific and to support and to help grow, because that's where I know I can make the greatest impact as that storyteller, to connect people to the people and the organizations and the resources that will help them to grow their service mission and to make a difference in others. So I would love to hear about some of the things that you've been doing. And I really, really appreciate everybody joining us on the Giving Back podcast, our guests who serve our listeners who are serving and are looking to up their game, and to people who are, interested and on the fence right now and are just like, they're just looking for that opportunity, because your day will come and you will be great. So thank you again so very much. Until the next time, loving kindness. And remember, always err on the side of loving kindness. Okay, so that was it. That was different. I'm learning. It's taking me longer sometimes. It's taking me, I'm pausing more. I'll get over that. This is not quite a presentation though, so I will get a little bit more into it. Some of these things are a little more introspective. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate appreciate that support, man. I'm still pretty nervous about this. It takes a little bit more introspective on some of these, on the Giving Back Insights shows, and I've noticed that. So I think I might need to I think that thinking through this is going to be important for me. It'll make the show more dynamic. It's exciting. So maybe processing that a little bit more and then putting that out for the show is going to be important. But I thank everybody who has the patience to be on with me. Mike, my gosh, dude, it is not a shout out. It is a thank you. Absolutely 100%, man. And for all our guests, but thank you for joining. Thanks for giving me some support in the beginning. They're like, I'm so freaking nervous. What am I doing? And thank you for everybody for bearing with me while I'm going through this. And thank you for joining me on the journey. This is going to be a lot of fun. And I promise that I will be as transparent as I can and as accountable to the results and to show what's going on, and we'll help build that and get people involved in however you want. So love and kindness, and have a wonderful day. Thank you. Mwah.